In this video, I'll tell you 6 ways of protecting your family's finances, especially if you're an expat like me living in the UK. I often talk about investing on my channel, and investing is very important, but there is several things before you invest that you should do to secure your family's finances. You can't build a house without securing the foundations first. You cannot make a property without securing the boundary wall first. You can't learn to play the piano unless you know C, D, E, F. So these are just the basics of finance and investing that you should get right even before you think of investing. So there are 6 things I want to tell you about securing your family's finances. First is having a will. So if you're anything like me, like I was about 3 or 4 years ago, I thought, oh, I got £300 in my bank account. Why would I need to make a will for £300? And I always thought making a will was to secure your finances. But more than securing your finances, a will is very, very, very important if you have minor children. So children under the age of 18. If something unfortunately happens to you and your spouse at the same time, if you unfortunately were to pass away, then your minor children comes under the authority of the British government and they are taken into the care by social services. And yes, they eventually get passed down to family and passed down to good care, but then the social services looks into their background and make sure the children are safe before they're passed on to your next of kin. But if you have a will in place, you've done all the due diligence and you've decided who are going to be the guardians of your minor children, and then they do not get taken into care, they go to the guardians that you've allocated for them. Imagine a young child who's lost their parents. I can't even imagine that, have lost their parents, and they then get taken into social services. So a child is grieving from the loss of their parents and then taken into a foreign environment. So if you're parents of young children, always have a will just to take care of your children. So once your children are securely taken care of, then think about your finances. All your debts need to be paid off. So if you have a mortgage and things, that will need to be paid off. So the rest of your assets, how that will be divided among the next in line. You may want to if you have disabled children and things, you may want to leave more for certain children and less for certain other children. So have a little think about all that. But most importantly, especially if you're an expat living in the country, especially if you're like me who've got no close family living in the country, then always think about a guardian for your children before you think about how you'd manage your estate. The second most important thing to secure your family finances is to do a life insurance. So this is very important, isn't it? If you're reliant on a monthly income and your family is reliant on you bringing in that monthly income each month, then definitely a life insurance is critical, isn't it? Your debts do not go away. So if you have a car finance, if you have a mortgage, all this needs to be paid off. And then the extra, you may want to leave a certain lump sum of money to the rest of your family. So think about a life insurance policy for your family. I'll attach a link in the up here and in the description box below. I've done a whole video on life insurance, and feel free to check it out. The third most important thing you need to do to secure your family's finances is to do an income protection insurance. So loss of income due to any reason, whether it's death or disability, it is very important to cover, isn't it? Especially if you're reliant on that monthly income to put food on the table, to pay your bills. If you've broken a leg, yes, it might take 6 months to recover, and you probably can manage for 3-4 months, and you may be able to do a desk job in the meanwhile. But if you have something more serious, so if you have a stroke, or if you have a heart attack, or if you've got multiple sclerosis, so serious conditions, you need to have a longer income protection insurance in place. Again, my family is not very reliant on my income. My income is sort of an additional to my husband's income. So we have not protected my income because our family can sort of scrape by without my income, but we cannot manage without my husband's income. So income protection is often very overlooked because it's very expensive, but there's loads of things you can do to minimize your premiums. I've actually done a whole video on income protection. I'll put it up here and in the description box below. Feel free to check it out. So the first 3 things that I discussed, a will, a life insurance, and income protection insurance, these are very, very, very critical. The next 3 are not that critical. Some of it even I am working working on, but it's very important to secure your family finances. So hear me out. Thing number 4 to secure your family finance is a critical care insurance. So there's a list of about 11 or 12 critical illnesses that have a payout. It's usually a lump sum payment. So when we were quoted, it's 30,000 lump sum or 50,000 lump sum. So this is usually to make adaptations to your house if you get a critical illness. So for example, if I had a stroke, I might need to have a downstairs bedroom, or if I might need to have a downstairs toilet, so I might need to do an extension, or I might need a ramp access to come through my front door. So it's usually a lump sum of payment to make adaptations to your house in case of a critical illness. When we got quotes for critical illness, we were already into our 40s, so our premiums were quite high for a 30,000 pound lump sum or a 50,000 pound lump sum. The younger you are, the cheaper the premiums are. So if you're in your 20s and 30s, critical care insurance is going to be really, really cheap for you to protect your income. So that might be something you want to look into as well. The 5th thing you need to do to protect your family's finances is to have a power of attorney. So often when we think of power of attorney, we think of an older person who perhaps has got dementia or mentally incapacitated in whatever way, and they cannot manage their finances. But if you have joint finances, if you're working as a couple and your finances are joint, then you really need a power of attorney. Imagine if I had maybe I got hit by a car and I'm got taken into hospital, and I'm in hospital with a head injury for 3 months, say. And during that time, if we have joint bank accounts, my husband can access my bank account. But all my single bank accounts, my husband legally cannot access my bank accounts when I'm in a hospital bed. So yes, you could think that for 3 months you could scrape by, but imagine after 3 months I came home and I'm still mentally incapacitated. And then if I do not have a power of attorney already made, and I'll come to how to make it in a minute, if you do not have a power of attorney already made, then my husband needs to go to court to apply for managing your finances. And because again, you have got long-term implications. You need our joint finances, our mortgage, our children, etc. Anything that involves joint finances, all that needs to be managed for the long term. So to apply initially, the first year my husband needs to go to court to apply. It's about £5,000 to manage that, and then each subsequent year a panel needs to sit together to make sure that my husband's still working in my best interest with my finances. So a panel, again, it can cost about up to £2,000 each year, versus if you have a power of attorney, which is perhaps a document that you need to do once in your lifetime. Again, more than that if you change your spouse, or if you change the person who's managing your finances. Maybe at a later date you may want your children to be your power of attorney. So unless you change your power of attorney, it's probably once or twice in your lifetime, and the current cost is about less than £100. It's about £96, and it's a very straightforward process. Again, there's a lot of legal documents and things, because it's very legally binding. You need 2 people to sign it off and things, which can be friends and family who can sign it off. It's very easily available on the government website. I'll put a link to it in the description box below. So £100 as probably once or 2 times expense in your lifetime, versus thousands of pounds each year. It's pretty straightforward, isn't it? The last thing to secure your family finances is to have an emergency fund. So things will happen in life, however organized you are, things will happen in life. A few months ago, 2-3 months ago, my parents were unwell, so I had to go to India. So tickets are not cheap. Again, last week we had a burst pipe in the kitchen. Again, a plumber, £200. My tires have popped several times over the last 2 or 3 years. Yes, not a very careless driver, hit too many curbs. But yes, so things happen. And all these unforeseen expenses come about in our life. So while I'm very hot on investing your money, so if I had, say, I spent £1,000 for my air ticket to India. If I had those £1,000 and it was invested, and currently if I needed to withdraw it now, the market has dropped by about 20-25%. My £1,000 would be about £800. So investing is very important, but do not invest your emergency fund. It's always important to have a small amount of cash buffer that you can access in case of an emergency. Just to summarize, the 6 things that you need to protect your family's finances. First is have a will. Second is a life insurance. Third is an income protection insurance. Fourth is a critical care insurance. Fifth is the power of attorney. Sixth is an emergency fund. Often people ignore the basics because it's not as sexy as investing in property or investing in the stock market. And people often overlook the basics of before you start to invest, how to secure your life, how to build your foundations before you build your house. So I hope this video has helped you. If you want me to go through any of this in more detail, let me know in the description box below. Hope you have liked this video. Give me the thumbs up like button if you have. And you may want to check this video on life insurance before you go. Until next time, stay safe.